Let me tell you something that might completely change how you read women. When she acts like she doesn't care, when she goes cold, distant, completely unbothered, most men think she's lost interest, and it's over. But here's what's really happening from a woman's perspective. She's not necessarily done with you. She's protecting herself. And there are 6 specific signs that tell you if she's faking indifference or if she's genuinely moved on. Most men miss these completely and either chase desperately or walk away from women who actually like them. Here's why this matters more than you think. When you misread a woman's indifference, one of 2 things happens. Either you chase after a woman who's genuinely done, looking desperate and killing any remaining attraction, or you walk away from a woman who's just protecting herself, and you lose someone who actually liked you. Both outcomes cost you. I'm here to give you the truth from a woman's perspective. Not dating theory or pickup tactics, but how we actually think when we put up these walls. I'm going to break down the psychology behind fake indifference, give you 6 specific signs to identify, explain exactly what triggers this defensive behavior, and show you how to respond in a way that maintains your frame and your value. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what you're dealing with. You'll stop second-guessing her every move. And you'll have a clear strategy that works whether she's testing you or actually moving on. First, let's talk about why women fake not caring in the first place. Here's the truth. When a woman acts indifferent, she's usually not trying to manipulate you or play games. She's protecting herself. It's a defense mechanism that kicks in when she feels emotionally vulnerable or threatened. And from a woman's perspective, this isn't calculated. It's instinctive. Let me break down the 3 main psychological drivers behind this behavior. First, fear of rejection. When a woman starts to develop real feelings for you, she becomes vulnerable. And that vulnerability is terrifying. Because if she cares and you don't care back, or if you leave, she gets hurt. So her psychology says, if I act like I don't care, I can't get hurt. It's emotional self-preservation. She convinces herself that if she stays detached, if she keeps her guard up, she controls the outcome. But here's the thing. The more she actually likes you, the more scared she gets, and the colder she acts. Second, ego protection. No woman wants to be the one who cares more in a relationship. There's this internal scoreboard we keep, even if we don't admit it. Who texted first? Who initiated the last date? Who said I miss you first? When a woman feels like the scales are tipping and she's investing more than you are, her ego steps in. She pulls back to rebalance the dynamic. She acts indifferent to avoid looking desperate or needy. Because in her mind, being the one who cares less means having the power. Third, power testing. Sometimes a woman acts indifferent specifically to see how you'll respond. She wants to know if you'll panic and chase her, or if you'll stay grounded. It's not malicious. It's her way of filtering for masculine strength. Women are attracted to men who don't fall apart when we pull back. If you freak out, send 10 texts, call repeatedly, beg for her attention, you failed the test. But if you stay calm, give her space, maintain your frame, you pass. And ironically, that's when she re-engages. Here's the paradox. Most men don't understand. The more a woman actually likes you, the more likely she is to act indifferent when she feels threatened. Picture this. A woman starts catching real feelings. Maybe things got intimate emotionally. Maybe she opened up about something personal. And now she feels exposed. Her instinct isn't to lean in. It's to pull back and act like none of it mattered. Because that distance gives her control again. This is what women talk about with each other, but never admit to men. We convince ourselves we don't care to protect ourselves from caring too much. It's not about you. It's about us managing our own fear. Now that you understand why this happens, Here's how to tell if that's actually what's going on. So how do you actually tell the difference? Let me walk you through the specific signs of fake indifference versus real disinterest. Pay close attention here, because these patterns reveal everything. Let's start with the signs that she's faking it, that she's still interested but protecting herself. 1. Inconsistent behavior. This is the biggest tell. She's hot one day, cold the next. She acts distant when you're together. But then you notice she's watching all your Instagram stories. She tells you she needs space, but she's still liking your posts at 2 in the morning. Real disinterest is consistent. Fake indifference fluctuates because she's fighting her actual feelings. 2. Controlled responses. She's trying to act unbothered. You can tell she's putting effort into seeming like she doesn't care. Her texts are short, but she's still texting. She takes hours to reply, but she always replies. She's calculated about it. When a woman is genuinely done, she's not thinking about response times. She just doesn't engage. But when she's faking it, there's a pattern. She's managing the interaction to look disinterested while staying connected. 3. Attention seeking through withdrawal. Here's what I mean. She pulls back, but she wants you to notice. She posts cryptic things on social media. She talks about being independent or not needing anyone, but it feels performative. She's broadcasting her indifference because she wants a reaction from you. A woman who's truly moved on isn't performing. She's just gone. 4. Emotional reactions when you pull back. This is the real test. If she's faking indifference and you match her energy, suddenly she re-engages. You stop reaching out, and within days she's texting you. You go quiet, and she finds a reason to contact you. She asks mutual friends about you. She gets bothered when you're not chasing. That reaction tells you everything. Real disinterest doesn't care what you do. 5. She's still around. She says things like, "I'm not sure about this," or "maybe we should just be friends," but she doesn't actually leave. She keeps the connection open. She doesn't block you. She doesn't cut contact. She hovers, because deep down, she's hoping you'll do something to change her mind or prove you're worth the risk. 6. Testing language. Listen to how she phrases things. It's not definitive. She says, "I don't think this is working." But she doesn't say, "This is over." She says, "Maybe we're not right for each other." But she's still engaging in the conversation. She's leaving the door cracked. That's not a woman who's done. That's a woman who's protecting herself while hoping you'll step up. Now let's talk about the signs of real disinterest, when she's genuinely done. 1. Consistent coldness. No hot and cold pattern. Just steady, uninterested distance. She's not fluctuating. She's flatlined. 2. No effort. She doesn't initiate. She doesn't ask questions. She's not trying to keep the conversation going. There's no energy from her side. 3. No emotional reaction to your absence. You pull back, and nothing happens. She doesn't reach out. She doesn't seem affected. Your presence or absence doesn't change her behavior. 4. Direct communication. She tells you clearly, "This isn't working. I'm not interested. I'm seeing someone else." She's not vague. She's not testing. She's ending it. 5. Moving on behaviors. She's actively dating other people. She removes couple photos. She talks about her future without you in it. She's detached, not defensive. Here's your diagnostic framework. If she's showing 3 or more signs of fake indifference, she's protecting herself. If she's showing 3 or more signs of real disinterest, she's genuinely done. And if you're not sure, the biggest tell is this. Fake indifference reacts to your behavior. Real disinterest doesn't. Understanding the signs is critical. But let's talk about what actually triggers this defensive behavior in the first place. Now that you can identify the behavior, let's talk about what actually causes it. Because understanding the triggers helps you prevent them, or at least recognize when you're walking into one. First trigger: vulnerability overload. This happens when a woman opens up too much too fast, and then feels exposed. Picture this. She shares something deeply personal with you, maybe about her past, her fears, something she doesn't tell most people. And then in the days after, she starts to feel like she gave too much away. She feels naked emotionally. So she pulls back and acts indifferent to regain some control. It's not about you. It's about her needing to rebalance after being too vulnerable. Second, perceived power imbalance. When a woman feels like she cares more than you do, her defense system activates. She's looking at who initiates contact, who's putting in effort, who said, "I miss you" first. And if she feels like the scales are tipped and she's investing more, she pulls back to protect her ego. She acts indifferent to avoid looking desperate or weak. Third, fear of being taken for granted. Maybe you've been less attentive lately. You've been busy, distracted, less appreciative. She starts to feel like you're not valuing her the way you used to. And instead of communicating that directly, she goes cold to see if you'll notice, if you'll chase, if you actually care. Fourth, past relationship trauma. If she's been hurt before, cheated on, left suddenly, that fear sits in the background. Even if things are going well with you, one small trigger can activate that old wound. She might pull back and act indifferent because she's bracing for the same pattern to repeat. Fifth, she's testing your investment. She wants to see if you'll freak out when she goes cold or if you'll stay grounded. This isn't malicious. It's her filtering for emotional strength. Women are attracted to men who don't fall apart when we create distance. And sixth, external pressure. Sometimes it's not even about you. Life stress, friends questioning the relationship, family opinions, work pressure. All of that can spill over and make her pull back defensively, even if the relationship itself is fine. From a woman's perspective, these triggers aren't about playing games. They're about not getting hurt. We'd rather act like we don't care than risk being the one who cares more and gets burned. Now here's what you need to understand about what she's actually feeling when she acts this way. So now let's talk about what's actually happening in her head when she's acting indifferent. Because understanding her internal experience changes everything about how you respond. Here's the reality. When a woman acts cold and distant, there's an internal war happening. Part of her wants to reach out, wants to drop the act, wants to be close to you. But another part of her is screaming to stay protected, to not be vulnerable, to not give you the power to hurt her. And these two sides are battling constantly. The fear-based emotions are loud. She's thinking, what if I care more than he does? What if I open up and he walks away? What if I'm just an option to him and I'm over here catching real feelings? These questions loop in her mind. And the safest answer her brain gives her is to act like she doesn't care. Because if she doesn't care, she can't lose. Then there's the ego versus heart battle. Her heart wants connection. It wants authenticity. It wants to tell you how she actually feels. But her ego steps in and says, no, if you show him you care, you lose your power. If you're vulnerable, you're weak. If you reach out first, you look desperate. So she listens to her ego and stays cold, even though it's killing her inside. Here's what women won't tell you. When we act indifferent, we're often watching you more closely than ever. We want to see if you're the type of man who panics when we pull back, or if you stay grounded. We want to know if you'll chase desperately, send 10 texts, beg for our attention. Because if you do, It confirms our fear that you're not emotionally strong enough to handle us. But if you stay calm, if you give us space without being cold yourself, if you maintain your frame, that's actually attractive. That's when we start to second guess the whole pulling away thing. There's a hope underneath all of this. Deep down, she wants you to see through the act. She wants you to understand that the coldness is a defense, not the truth. But she'll never say that out loud. She can't, because admitting it would mean dropping the protection. So she's stuck in this loop, acting indifferent while hoping you're smart enough to not believe it. A friend of mine admitted this once. She was seeing a guy she actually liked. Things were going well. But then she started feeling too exposed, like she was more invested than he was. So she pulled back. Stopped texting first. Acted busy. Played it cool. And she told me, I wanted him to notice. I wanted him to do something to make me feel like I wasn't alone in this. But when he stayed calm and didn't chase, she realized he wasn't going to play the game. And that's what made her drop the act. Because his steadiness told her she was safe. That's the dynamic. Her coldness is a test, but it's also a cry for reassurance wrapped in defense. And the man who understands that has all the power. So here's the million-dollar question. How do you actually respond to this behavior? Because your response determines everything. It determines whether she respects you, whether she drops the act, or whether she walks away completely. Let's start with what not to do. Because most men fall into these traps and kill any chance they had. Don't chase harder when she pulls back. Don't text her 10 times asking what's wrong. Don't send paragraphs explaining yourself. Don't call repeatedly. Don't try to logic your way back into her good graces. That's exactly what her test is designed to weed out. Weak, reactive energy. Don't get defensive or play the victim. Don't say things like, "Why are you being like this?" Or "I don't understand what I did wrong." That puts you in the position of needing her validation. You lose your frame immediately. Don't give her attention to fix her mood. If she's cold, don't reward that coldness with more effort from your side. Don't flood her with compliments or gifts trying to win her back. That tells her she can act any way she wants and you'll still chase. Don't act hurt or withdrawn as punishment. Going silent out of spite is not the same as giving space. She'll feel the difference. One is grounded. The other is emotional and reactive. And don't tolerate disrespect. There's a difference between her protecting herself and her being outright disrespectful. If it crosses into rudeness, manipulation, or game playing that drags on for weeks, you walk. Standards matter. Now here's what you do instead. 1. Stay grounded. This is the foundation. Don't let her emotional state control yours. When she goes cold, you stay calm. You don't panic. You don't spiral. You remain composed and centered. You can acknowledge what's happening without being rattled by it. Something like, "I notice you've been distant. When you're ready to talk, I'm here." That's it. No chasing. No begging. Just calm presence. 2. Mirror her pace. Not her emotion. If she takes 4 hours to text back, you take 3 to 4 hours. You're not ignoring her out of spite. You're just not giving peak attention when she's giving low investment. You match energy levels. But here's the key. You stay slightly ahead. You don't punish her with silence. You just stop leading the interaction when she's pulling back. 3. Maintain your standards. Make it clear that you're interested in someone who's clear about wanting to be here. You can say something like, "I'm attracted to you, but I need to know you're actually present in this." I don't do confusion. That's a boundary. You're not being harsh. You're being honest about what you will and won't tolerate. 4. Create space for her to come back. Don't fill every silence with words. Let her feel your absence. Not as punishment, but as a natural consequence of her withdrawal. Give her room to miss you. Space allows her to realize what she's pushing away. But you can't force it. You just step back and let the dynamic breathe. 5. Reward genuine engagement. When she drops the act and shows real interest, meet that energy. Show appreciation for authenticity. You can say something like, "This version of you is what I'm interested in. I'm here for real connection, not games." That reinforces what you want more of. 6. Trust your read and act accordingly. If it's fake indifference and you stay steady, she'll respect it and eventually drop the walls. If it's real disinterest after you've given it space and clarity, walk away with your dignity. Either way, you win because you maintained your value. Your mindset through all of this should be simple. I'm interested in a woman who's clear about wanting me in her life. If she's protecting herself, I'm patient but I don't chase. If she's playing games, I'm not participating. I know my worth and I'm not begging anyone to see it. Here's the truth about what happens when you respond this way. A woman who's genuinely interested will eventually show it if you stay grounded and maintain your standards. A woman who's genuinely uninterested will leave. Either way, you win because you didn't chase, you didn't lose your frame, and you didn't compromise your value. Let me summarize what you need to remember. Fake indifference is emotional protection, not always manipulation. Know the signs. Inconsistent behavior, controlled responses, emotional reactions when you pull back. Those tell you she's still interested but protecting herself. Understand the triggers. Vulnerability, power imbalance, fear of being taken for granted. These activate her defense system. And respond strategically. Stay grounded. Mirror her pace. Maintain your standards. And don't chase. Here's the brutal truth. The man who understands female psychology doesn't get played by fake indifference. He sees it for what it is and he responds with strength, not insecurity. He doesn't freak out when she goes cold. He stays steady. He trusts his read. He knows his worth. And that steadiness is more attractive than any desperate chase could ever be. Don't be the man who panics and loses her respect. Be the man who stays calm, maintains his frame, and either earns her genuine respect or walks away with his dignity. That's the difference between men who get trapped in emotional games and men who attract genuine connection. I want to hear from you. Have you ever dealt with a woman acting indifferent? How did you handle it? Drop your experience in the comments. I'll be reading and replying because these conversations matter. And if you want more content breaking down female psychology from a woman's perspective, hit subscribe. This is where you learn how women actually think. Remember, your steady frame is more attractive than your desperate chase. That's how you win.